So we're failing to open the saves. But I am creating the saves directory. That's odd. It worked the second time. This should flush the stream. So it's, oh, maybe it didn't work the second time. Feels like my sound is a little low. Let me just boost that up a bit. So if you're listening, just turn down your volume a bit, I guess, if it's good right now. Okay, that's clipping now. There we go. That should be good. Okay. I just got to fetch my bread. I'll be right back. Okay. So where am I crashing? Spec none failed. All right. Yeah, so it looks like it's coming from the child process. I don't know, there are two back choices here. Invalid bool encoding. Oh, so we have some sort of okay, so we have some sort of desync happening here. It's trying to read a bool here. At flush full. So this is trying to read a true. Okay, but it's not getting that. Self.read does. Yeah, it actually checks the message side and stuff. So I did just change this. But I have restarted the computer since. So wet hands and trackpads don't work very well. Okay. So let's get rid of the back traces. So it should be simple enough to see what's going wrong here. So save is sending a save. That has no response, I do believe. So it's trying to read something and it's not. I think the easiest way to do that is probably to get this to print whatever it's sending. Which is annoying because I just made it stop doing that. Why is it trying to decode well, in that case it should be just reading the error. I'm also wondering why that doesn't have any backtrace. But it is coming from here, so Let's just see what we're getting. You know what? We also have a bug here because we're reading into buff, but then we're not clearing it afterwards. Which is going to be important. No. We probably want to do this on any exit, but maybe too hard. Yeah, I'm just going to be lazy. So it doesn't handle the error case right, but to be honest, if you're getting an error, the whole protocol is kind of screwed, and we should just restart the client. But it shouldn't be the issue though, because we are debug asserting that the buff is empty at the start. So can't be the bug that we're seeing. Buffer is huge and empty. It looks like it's sending us a RAM dump, is what I think it's doing. But why is it sending us that on? So the only time this is called is get state. Okay, that is called here, which is suspicious. But get state requests the RAM, and then does its custom reading. So maybe it's not handling errors properly. But it does see that it is checking if the len is 0. So there's also the chance that the get RAM is not. You know what it is? But that shouldn't be an issue. It's an error, so the get state should get an error instead of the RAM. It should just error out and stop. Why is it crashing? Trying to read a bool. It's also annoying I'm not getting a backtrace for this. Okay. Okay, printing this RAM dump is not helping me. But also this used to work, which is concerning. Yeah, so I think I just need to instrument this. What are we sending? So I think kind of conveniently I bypass this for the RAM send. So I don't need to do that. Oh, why is it so slow? My computer is very upset right now. It says OBS is taking some CPU, but it shouldn't be that bad. And my frame rate is not great. I think probably what I'm going to do is okay, give me just a moment, guys. I'm going to restart at 30 FPS. Okay, hopefully this will be a little bit snappier. Okay, so this isn't going to work, but I can do that. And then I've also halfway through this change. Okay, that's just a little bit tidier to read. Yeah. Okay. Do. Okay, I don't actually use this right now, so let's just delete it. It would be nice to keep that, but we can always add it back. Cargos error messages are so annoying. I wish I would just show you the first one, but that's not an option. It's like, oh yeah, you made a syntax error. Now have your housing file. It's like, I don't care. Just tell me the syntax error. Yeah, because if we wanted to not clear the buffer and be safe, we would have to change the type on that. Is that even... I don't see the problem here. Do I actually have... No, because I'm saying it's static, so why would I... Having trouble figuring out why this is a problem. I wonder if this is just too aggressive of a signature. The proper thing to do here would really be to just return something that will clear it for us afterwards. But if it is a self-contained object, seems like we should just be fine to return it. So maybe that'll do the trick. Don't think this works. This should be easy enough to do. I don't. Returns a result t, where t is to serialize. The thing is that R shouldn't have any, like I know R doesn't have any references to self, so why can I not prove that to the compiler? This Right, because this should do it. This is saying you're a static type and you can be deserialized from some random thing. Do I have a syntax error? Expect an item. Yeah, but I don't see the problem because T is static. Oh, but why can't it outlive the buffer? So if I do like this, does this work? No, it has the same problem. But I've done this before. This is basically the same. But am I... What is happening with my cursor? Please, like, stop. So other than being wrong, this is great. So I just want to Okay. Yes, I probably need to give you a type. This logically makes sense, right? I can do this. It appears to be working. So why is it not working here? Okay, so this gives me hope. This means I just need to figure out how to tell the damn compiler this thing doesn't have a lifetime. No. Why isn't this easy is a different question. Yeah, but like the next jump is just... It seems like the static should be enough. I don't know why it's not. it seems like the Sirdi guarantees that it. Is this working? This can't possibly work. This is no different than what I have before. What? Oh, I'm dumb. I forgot to clear. Okay, let's go back to U32. Okay. So that works. I think clone is just in scope, right? I want clone, I want copy, but that won't matter. Okay, let's just look at every trait on a U32 and see which one does the magic. I feel like I'm going crazy right now, because I thought the static would be enough, but apparently that is not the case. So it seems like it must be something to do with the A parameter. So let's look at the definition of deserialize again. Okay, first let's look at traits. None of these traits appear to be relevant, but sized, but that, okay. So it returns a self. Self does not have anything to do with the deserializer. Oh, the error. For the error might be the problem. So I need, let's see if I can just do this. But even that shouldn't be the problem, because I've already unwrapped. What do you mean associate type error not found? Yeah, it's for a given. Okay, yeah, that's not the issue. Yeah, so it seems like it doesn't have to be about self. I don't really care. Do I have to do like A, B, and B is A? I can't type. So now I need this for A, and then self is B. So this is saying that self is a bigger lifetime than I need for the deserializer. Which course itself is? Yeah, that's the whole. Now I'm going to flip them because I think I have it right, but the multi-lifetime thing always confuses the hell out of me. Oops, that's the wrong window. I wonder if I can just Google this. Some magic trait. Okay, that's the trick. It took us a while to figure it out, but it does say like this is equivalent to writing. Anyways, okay. Let's just copy this. Actually, I guess I can just use this because I'm pretty sure that's the better version. Now, again, I don't think this actually solves our problem because we were asserting that we were only deserializing when the buffer was empty. So we shouldn't have been hitting that case. That's just fixing something for the future and spending a lot of time doing it, apparently. Okay. So we still have the invalid Boolean coding, which is not clear why. So it's almost certainly happening here. Don't know why the back traces aren't being generated properly, because should generate one when converting that to the failure error, but that doesn't appear to be the case. Stream 45 and a 47, actually. So it is sending not found message file directory. No, so we are missing the second there. So the first one goes through, the second one doesn't, which is interesting. I'm just gonna restart my thing because my language server is dead for some reason, and I haven't had luck just restarting it for some reason. I need to switch my language client, I guess. That's not the file I wanted. So it is getting all the way down here. It's actually, probably what I want to do is and of course, for some reason, debug, you have to do that, which is ridiculous. The whole point is to be easy. But anyways, I want to yeah, so I'm getting way too much data on that flush. Yeah, it's like this is almost certainly a get RAM. So the question is, why isn't that being read? That makes sense. So what's happening is if, okay, this is no longer necessary. It's basically if run input gets interrupted, or actually get state is really what's the problem. Why is the language client? Content modified. That's a weird error. So, okay, so what's happening is crashes somewhere in here and we get desynced. But then I was getting an error. So, okay. Because flush is called on destruction. So even if we had an error before, we get, okay, that makes sense. So what's happening is, yeah, it's being called during destruction. Also, like, yeah. Basically, like our protocol completely falls apart once you get an error. The way to fix this would be to have everything that sends a message wait for the response. But I can't be bothered right now. Okay, so that'll stop us from crashing. That's not actually what's causing the issue. And actually, I want to remove all these. Because what's happening is it's having an error that's being handled like properly, but then it's just printing out the warning when it's destructing the object because now the stream is out of sync. So that's fine because as long as we don't go back in, everything is okay. So yeah, see, I can actually see now. So error flushing output, invalid encodings. That's just a warning. So actual error is happening higher up, which is no such file or directory. Now, question here is, will it backtrace? Because I'm actually kind of surprised. Like, I think it's reading save 0 and it's not there or something. So on error value any. Okay, so this is the original error here. I don't know why I can't get it formatted right, but that's a problem for another day. Okay, so my save directory is not being made. And it's okay, it's running to bug, and I don't think I create a bug. So Booleans are hard. Okay, so that is looking better. God damn it. type. I think I just need to actually move my keyboard over a bit more. Fortunately, my microphone doesn't actually go far enough. I may try to relocate it, but then I'd have to wire it through my screen somehow or something. Okay, so we are doing something now. I'm going to make this smaller. I'm sorry if you can't see the errors, but okay. So let's save. Not actually sure what I did here. Oh yeah, and don't need any JSON in this project. I think that will clean up my package file. Okay, so yeah. So the proper way to solve this would be return an object that will deref to the type that they're trying to read, but also as a destructor, so that when it's dropped, it will clear the buffer, and that will hold a mutable reference to the self, so that they won't be able to like read two things while they're still using the buffer. This is actually nice because it allows us to avoid allocations in some cases. But right now I don't have that many requests that allocate, and I think none of the performance sensitive ones do. So it's not a major issue. Yeah, so this is the only one that allocates, but it's supposed to be debug only thing anyway, so I'm not too worried, and it's going to be run slowly. And in fact, the thing I want to do right now is slow it down even more. So yeah, so right now if it's in debug, I'm just rendering it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use, I found this throttle library which looks okay, and what I'm going to end up doing is I'll probably end up adding some more features to this throttle library, but for now it's totally fine. So all I want to do is let that probably needs arguments, but I'll just save. Yeah, so there's a lot like cooler features that we could add to this, but for right now it does actually basically what I want, which is that it tells me if I have does it not actually tell me those arguments? Why are you showing me just every new function in the project? Oh, language client, what are you doing? Why is it lagging? This, I feel like it's secs instead of seconds, but we will find out. Okay, so my language client has finally noticed this. Yeah. Are you sure? Like, it's telling me the error, but it's not actually wiring up to the right place. Okay, I'll go the old way. And open docs. It was really slow. I think there's a problem with the NVIDIA graphics here. I should probably just stream from the Intel graphics card from now on. Yeah, this library also has no docs, but it appears to be how often I throttle. So I think I should just give it 1. It should be fine. Okay. So okay. So that should be the first thing, and that should mean that we're only taking a screenshot once a second. Why can I not borrow as mutable? It's not declared as mutable. That's a good reason. So I'm just going to open up the screenshot options here on the other monitor. Oh, sorry, the screenshot rendering, but I'll drag over one of them so we can look at it. Oh my goodness, that's so big. How do I close that? Does that let me go smaller? No. Yeah, my display scaling is messed up because it's really like you let me. Okay, anyways, my display scaling is messed up because this monitor is much lower resolution than my other one. Okay, but so we have Mario doing things and it's updating once a second, which seems good. I guess I could say every 10 seconds, save more time, but rendering a single PNG once a second is probably not a major issue. So I think for now that's fine. 9, 10. Okay. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Cool. Okay, but I'm going to go back to 1 second and then I'm going to save this. Okay. So the next thing I want to do is right now how I run this is an absolute mess of like 8 variables that are managing things. So what I want to do is just clean this up. They're also all atomic variables and stuff, and it's probably not a very efficient way to do it. It'll actually be more efficient just to stick everything beside the lock. So what I'm going to do is I think I'll just create a new module. So I'm not very creative. So in here, what I'm going to want is I'm just going to make it specific to, I guess there's no reason actually. So did I really have a capital S on star? I guess it kind of makes sense. Okay, but that's actually not enough. So what I need is so what I want is, I'm terrible naming. This is just the stuff that what I'm putting here is the stuff that has to be synchronized between threads. So in here, I'm going to have and basically I'm going to be copying from main all this junk. These are going to go here. Now I'm going to do this properly because it's the right thing to do. Yeah, which I guess if I'm doing it generically, I can't do the working trick anyway. Okay, so one of the things that I want to do here is right now for tracking, like essentially it has a queue of possible states. And now usually just when the game starts, but also if you're coming close to death or whatever, like maybe there's very few ways to pass a certain section of level, the queue can get smaller than the number of working threads. So what I'm doing is I'm tracking the number of working threads here. And basically, whenever the queue is empty, you don't want to quit the thread because you can find a new thing to do. Because the thread there's a huge branching factor. So a single state can branch into multiple possible states, and then you have work to do again. But so we need to wait to see if something new comes available. But now, if nothing becomes available, you don't want to be waiting forever. So what we're going to be doing here is, so what we're doing now is we're just tracking the number of threads that are waiting, or well, actually the number of threads that are working, which is kind of the inverse or the n minus. So this way, when all the threads or when the last thread realizes that there's nothing to do, it knows nothing else is going to become available because no one is doing the work to produce that. So in that case, they all exit. So I just want to encapsulate this a bit better because right now it's kind of scattered all over the code and it's absolute mess and all these atomic operations that probably aren't correct because atomic is hard. So okay, yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do this automatically for the user. So when you pull something out of the queue, what it's going to do is it's automatically going to manage this for you. Okay, and this is not compiling, so I'm not actually using it. No, that's not being used because I'm not actually spelling it over time. Okay. Okay. Why can I not find... Oh, yeah, that's probably a good reason why. Okay. I think you can just do that. Maybe not. Okay, so let's do it the boring way. Cannot find... What do you mean you can't infer V? I'm... Oh, that's a decent reason. Because I spelled it that way. Okay. So now, just basically going to replace all of this with new thing. I'll leave that for now. Okay, so Okay. So what I want to do here basically is once we're done, may just want to break this as a result because I'll have like this solution as well. I think this is fine for now. Which doesn't exist yet. This will also need to be. I'm not going to handle poisoning. Theory shouldn't happen because my code will never panic, of course. Solution. So if I remember, I think I remember require key to be cloned anyways. Yeah, so I should probably just copy this same nonsense. Won't technically be needed for all of them, but just don't do anything else. That's probably what I want is no, that's not what I want at all. Does that look right? Yeah, you get that weird turbofish. Expected number of type arguments. Expected 0. Yeah, so into doesn't do anything. And let's look up the definition of into. Okay, so I think I need to do really annoying things. Might be actually cleaner if mutex has something special for this, but I kind of doubt it. Yeah, so you can convert anything into a mutex of itself, but it appears you can't go the other way. Okay, there's an into inner method. I don't know why that's not. I wonder if there's a reason they didn't just use into. That's why, because it can fail if it's poisoned. Well, there we go. Okay, so yeah, so what we need to do is do that, and then we'll just shadow with this is going to get mad because there's no keys and values, I assume. It's 206. Yeah, okay, I don't need this anymore. So this actually probably breaks if there is no solution. But we can handle that later. So 184. Okay, yeah. So this is when we have the solution. So we just need to shove it into our manager. And break. And that'll handle all the rest because our manager is going to automatically reject people from trying more once they have the solution. So and yeah, we're just gonna quite simply assign to that. Yep. Okay, so we're back to main. So 172. Okay, so this is just adding a non-solution state. I wonder if I want to coalesce this with the solution stuff. So if not new break. So we could just make a return like should continue. And if you find a solution, return. You know what? For now, let's keep the structure because it seemed to work okay. In fact, we can probably just take the exact same arguments. So what is it doing? It's doing the key, the state, and the score. I'm just going to return pool as well. And so like this is also very uninteresting because all it's doing is calling through to the A star, as you saw in the other one. And actually, we don't want to do that because it will turn the right thing. Okay, and 91. Okay, so this is a complicated bit. This is where we're really getting the value out of the thing. So also we can remove this because this is based on the old solution stuff. So now we don't need to lock and unwrap. We just need to get a solution. In fact, we can build this in I'll keep it called pop because that's a fine name. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put all this in here. So that's what I want it to look like. Everything is done for us. But there's a lot of stuff to do here. Okay. So actually, did I? Yeah, we also want that. I'll just put that in there to remind me that I have to do it. Okay, so this is going to return the next state that we should be working on. So I think I need this to be in a loop because I want to avoid relocking the mutex over and over again. So we're going to lock data once, and then we're going to loop. So if data.solution.isSum none. Yeah, okay. So if we have a solution, we're going to stop looking. So that's that gone. And way tidier, no atomic operations, which I'm a huge fan of. Okay, so the next thing is we need to try to get the solution from the A star. So match data.a star .pop. So if we get some state, then we're quite simply going to return some state. So actually, what am I doing? If let sum. Okay, yeah, because so now we're going to fall here if the state is empty. So now this is where we have the two cases. We have the case of no one's working and we need to quit, or we have the case that some people are working. So I'll need to change this API actually because it is, what do you call it? I mean, it's missing its destructor, which is something that we're going to need. So for now, I'll ignore that, but I'm sure this will bite me really soon. So if so this means that no one's doing anything, so we're done. So otherwise, we're going to wait. What does the convar.wait return? Okay, so it actually consumes the mutex guard and returns a new one. So what I need is actually that. Yeah, I need to unwrap it. And that should allow me to just go straight back into the loop. I don't have to relock the mutex because I'm holding it there. Okay. But now the problem here is that we have no working. But I'm going to defer that to later. So okay. Thank you, Rust, for giving me stupid errors for a syntax error. Like, if you get a syntax error, just stop. Just tell me what has gone wrong. Don't tell me I'm missing methods and junk like that. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I thought that would be an issue. Can I just do this? Looks like I can. Can I do this? I don't think that's allowed here. No. Okay, so this isn't... Okay, so that's a bit of an issue. So it needs to access the state so that it can build the script it needs to run. In the future, we're actually not going to build a script. We're just going to, I guess we have to build it anyway because we need to report it on the next state. But yeah, so we need to give it access to the A star. And ideally, we're going to do this without dropping the lock. I think it actually makes sense to add stuff to the A star type to do this, because all the A star algorithms I'm working on have this where, actually that's not true, because you don't need to go forever up. You just need to get your current state. For example, I have a Ricochet robot solver, and it does not, while solving, look at its parent. Actually, that might not be true either. It might look one up to see what changed. But yeah, it's also, I don't really like the mem drop, because if you forget it, you're holding the lock for the whole time and you've serialized your solving. So I could just add a way to lock the A star, but that's adding an unnecessary unlock and lock. I could return the lock guard with here, which is probably what I'm going to do for now. It's something I'd like to clean up later so that it's harder to forget to unlock it. But I think for now it's going to work. Although this is also annoying because the lock guard is for... Okay, actually, I need to return a special type anyway because I need people to submit when they're done. But that can't hold the lock guard for the whole time, because otherwise it would... So maybe I can add... Okay, this might be the way to do it. So you return a type that converts into the submit type. So basically, as soon after as you can, you'll call like release, or hopefully a better name, which will drop the mutex and return you a new type. And then that new type is what you can use to add results. And then when that is done, you drop it, which will require the mutex to report the result. I don't know. I'm not convinced this is the best interface, but it should work, and we can always try something else later. So what do I want to call it? Let's just call it that because it's going to be holding a state. So one thing we have is the key. So the other thing we're going to have is the lock guard for the mutex. So this will be private. Now, actually, I don't think I want to provide complete access, because that allows them to mess with it, do things that I don't really want. So actually, for now, let's just only allow lookup. Do I just call it get here? Yeah. Score is never used. I'm just going to ignore it for now. So state key is state 0. A star. Yeah, so I can't actually store a star because of that. Manager is self. Nope. Yeah, so this, okay, that is already the right thing. I just called it the wrong thing. Yeah, so just realized that this should be 2 lines. Just put that in its own line, keep it tidy. Okay, so if we go back to main, we're getting something that looks like it could work. So basically here, what we're going to do is it's going to give us the state object back instead of what we had before. And what we're going to do here is, yeah, I hate this function. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to replace this with a reverse because it seems easier. So Yeah, so this is actually nice because it solves two of our problems at the same time. It'll solve our workers and this lifetime issue. Well, lifetime issue is the wrong word. And this looking back. So I probably shouldn't have deleted all that code because it actually has useful names and stuff. Where is my clipboard manager? Not really sure I want to do that now, but it's fine. Okay, and so the other thing I want to do is just... Otherwise, I'm just going to push the input. So I'm just building it backwards and reversing it rather than using the stack to do it. But whatever, it's close enough. Okay. So that's not right, but just get it compiling. Okay, so this should be the state key. Okay. So 91. Expect integer, found integer. Oh, no, yeah, because it doesn't really know that your key type is easily copyable. Okay. Yeah, so one optimization we had there, which we may lose, but I think that's fine, is that we don't notify someone if we're just putting one thing in the queue. Because in this case, we're going to put it in and then pop it out ourselves. So there's really no point in notifying someone. I think this is probably not a big deal because I think most of the time no one's sleeping, or when they are, we're like single thread anyway. It's not going to hurt too much to wake up a different thread. So I'm just going to remove it for now. Okay, so let's do something, but probably not much. It'll probably stop really soon. Current state. Oh, that's probably a problem. Hey, you found one of my bugs, Rust, and something I complain about all the time. That's kind of nice. Okay, yeah, so instead of dropping state, what we need to do is So the difference here is that we no longer have a lock guard, and instead of get, what we're going to do is we're actually going to move the report solution here. No, not the solution. We're going to move add. Okay, and so we're going to add I still can't think of a better name. Yeah, okay. Okay, so now you need to add your thing. Yeah, so this is what's going to happen. So now and now add is going to do okay. So I think the thing we're missing here is that it's not tracking how many threads are working. So I think at the start, we may very quickly drop down to a small number of threads actually doing work. Actually, right now, I'm just running this single threaded in the test because I didn't want to, hurt streaming porns or whatever. So, okay, so it does appear to be working. And if we can pull up our image viewer on screen. Yeah, okay. So now, but if I run this with more threads, suspect what's going to happen is that we're just going to kind of stop. All but one thread, probably. It's actually hard for me to see because, okay, let's turn off debug. What I'm going to do is just say, yeah, so I suspect what's going to happen is we're going to have a couple of cases where we just run out of inputs, especially at the very beginning. In fact, a way to make this more likely is probably adding a sleep here. Yeah, okay, so it happens. So now, so we should still have a thread running. And if we're lucky, it'll be our first thread, like thread 0, because then we'll see this picture updating. If not, well, I'll see it. Yeah, so it appears that thread 0 is running. So this should update every second then. So it should update every second. Oh, well, yeah, we're sleeping for 2 seconds. We should still get pictures every run. Might take a little bit of time. Now let's just try removing this. Wonder, I know Eog has if you like do something that considers editing the picture, it'll stop auto reloading, which can be quite annoying. Doesn't actually appear to be doing anything though, which is odd. But it's also not finishing, because if it finished, it would start printing this junk. Okay, yeah, it has seemed to tie itself up in a knot, because it's not moving anymore. Oh, yeah. Oh no, so it is running. Okay. Oh, obviously, because we turned off debugging, so there's going to be no screenshots. So let's just for now say okay, so it is updating now. We have one thread working, but all the other ones are done. So now what we need to do is we need to get the worker count working properly. So I think this should actually be pretty easy to do now, because basically when we create this state, all we're going to do is data.workers plus equals 1. And now we need to add a destructor to this guy. Will that mess up release? Wait. Okay. I think I have like a funny macro or something that's triggering. So this is also better than our old one because the old one relied on knowing the number of total workers. This is actually independent, which means in theory we could add scaling up or scaling down in the future, which is kind of cool. Yeah, okay. So the problem now is drop is a pain in the ass. So because we're destructuring this here, it's getting angry. See, I wonder if there would be nice in Rust if there was a way to say, like, you can't just drop this type. Although I guess that doesn't really work because if you unwind the stack and stuff, you're going to need to drop it. Although unwinding may be a mistake in Rust. It's annoying because you have all the downsides of exceptions. Your code needs to be exception safe. And the language actually gives you a lot of stuff to deal with the exception safety, but you can't use exceptions, which I have mixed feelings about exceptions. But it does seem like in one way of looking at it, at least, we got the worst of both worlds. I'm sure there's a lot of arguments that it's actually quite good. And I mean, I use Rust because I enjoy it, but it's one thing that I feel isn't perfect about the language. But yes, okay, so we can clone the key here. And manager is just a reference, so we could clone it. I guess we'll just do that. It doesn't seem like the optimal thing, but the compiler will probably optimize it all away anyway. Because we're cloning it just to drop in the destructor, because we're not allowed to move out. But I don't know if there's really a better way to do it, because we want to keep the destructor there, because I don't want people to be able to like drop it and not have the count go out, right? So if the other stuff is destructed, that's fine. Okay, so we still have a problem here because the threads are still going away. I also realize I'm not notifying at all, which is probably part of the problem. No, that shouldn't be the problem. That should just result in deadlocks, not actual... Okay. Yes, I'm doing this wrong. This is supposed to be on here because we don't want to decrease the working count until we've actually added the items. And this is actually kind of nice. Oh yeah, and it also makes sense that so this is actually slightly suboptimal because we are unlocking just before we're locking again. Because like this is the last thing we do basically, because like we're the value of the previous for loop is the manager. So all we're doing is locking it again. Maybe a better way to do it is going back to the waiting thing. When you're waiting, decrement it. Or I guess you would pull something off of the manager in each thread that would increment it, like the number of working things. And then you just temporarily drop that down when you're waiting. So that's kind of going back to how we were doing it before. Except that the maximum number is dynamic. Like we're actually adding to it every time we add a worker, which is slightly nicer. One other option here is use like an atomic operation here to avoid this lock and unlock, but the lock is probably super fast if you're just updating integer anyway, because compilers are actually really good at eliding stuff like that. Okay, so things aren't exiting, although I have a bit of suspicion that we're not actually doing anything. So yeah, the other threads haven't generated any images yet. So what I think is happening here is we're not actually notifying. So when you add, probably what we're going to have to do is notify. So self dot seems weird to me that with the convar you notify without giving it the mutex, but when you sleep you wait on a mutex. Yeah, it doesn't actually appear this way to notify with the mutex. So I guess in theory we could like hand over the lock to the person we notify, but not the case. Okay, so it's just if I could type what is going on. Sorry, I'm doing something on the monitor. Okay, so I can see that I actually have 4 images generated now, which presumably means that all my threads are actually running. Where's my cursor? Okay, so I do have 4 threads running, and they're updating once a second. I can put one up here. Okay, so I think that's functional. And I think this is a lot nicer. We moved like all this atomic nonsense that we were dealing with before and wrapped it all up in one thing. The only time we have a save count, but that's really just getting unique numbers. I'm not too worried about that. This in theory could be made non-atomic. We just partition like it's a number. We just give each one like a bajillion of them. I mean, we can even do this by doing like a fetch at or like having this as like a multiplier, and you get a batch of 1,000. You only increment every 1,000. But that's easy to do later and doesn't really need to be in our manager. So yeah, okay, so that's way tidier. So let's save and quit. Just do a little bit of a review. Yeah, so I just fixed up the imports. That was not related. Okay, we got rid of 3 of these atomic variables from the main loop. Moved it all. We did change the way we're generating it from the recursive to actually just reversing it at the end. I'll probably change the one below to do that as well, just because it's way tidier. Which I think, I don't know, because this one has to stop. The other one doesn't stop at bases, but we can do that later. Yeah, I need to change. This is why you review your code. Okay, yes, that's no longer changed. I feel like Git actually makes into things because I think on my terminal it says tab swap set to 4, but it's massive here. Okay, yeah, so we lose the small optimization here, which is that we used to not wake up if it was the last one on the thing. It wasn't perfect as well, though, either, because if you died, it would report it, and then you would keep going. And you're racing someone for it. But again, I don't think it's a major issue because most of the time we have like infinite states to visit, so I'm not particularly worried. We won't we'll be trying to notify, I guess, which we don't need to, but we'll be notifying no one, which I think is pretty fast. I haven't actually checked. Actually, one thing I think we should be able to change, or we actually might have just deleted the code. So we used to have an explicit exit in here. Okay, yeah, so we have deleted it. Okay, yeah, so I print no solution and exit. What I probably should do is I should actually add an explicit check for no solution here. Yeah. So what I want to do is okay, so here. So instead of just doing the unwrap, I'm going to say match what I maybe want to do is let's look up 6x. Is there a known code for I thought it was called sysexit.h. Okay, yeah. Oh, six exits. No input, no user, no host, unavailable, software user file, temp file protocol, no perm config. Yeah, no, none of those apply. But I think one is probably right anyway, because it's like a user defined thing, right? It's like our application says like this, it ran successfully, everything was okay, but there was just no solution available. So all over the place. Yeah, so this is the same. Okay, we added a change at the bottom. And yeah, it's basically all the same. Essentially, we had a to-do in the other file. I think we resolved it, but I don't know if we actually removed it. Yeah. Where am I? Okay. So that's all I'm going to do for today, I think. But we do have more to do. So, I mean, those doors can be cleaned up, but I think leaving that for now. One thing I want to do is actually update the README of things that we don't do perfectly yet. I'm not too worried about the save count. I do want to change how we manage saving. So right now, basically, if we manage to run write for 60 frames, we take a save. So here, so this is at the end of our frame count. Actually, it's not even anymore because now I actually limit the save frames based on how far to the exit. I probably just want to make this based on time since last save. So if Mario is still alive and it's like, say, 60 frames from the last save, we're just going to resave. Probably want to do some sort of benchmarks on this and compare like how long does it take to load a save state versus actually just rerun it. There's also like a space. So right now I'm just saving these all in /temp. I mean, it could be a disk depending how you have it configured. Actually, I think I'm running on my server and it's actually just writing to the hard drive, which is probably like destroying it, and also going to be really slow. So in that case, like reading is going to be like loading the save state is going to be much, or writing a save state is going to be quite a bit slower. And adding frames won't be much different. So that's something we definitely improve. And if we pick, how many frames to go, it just helps us pick a better metric and actually have control over it, as opposed to like the really simplistic one now, which is kind of approximates a reasonable save rate. Also, the more we save, the more like disk space we use, or as I said, this is in RAM, so the more RAM space we use. So if we want to conserve that, we should save less often, and we can make the trade-off there, right? So it's like slightly slower, but uses less RAM. Well, that's maybe a good thing. And maybe it's actually faster over time because of caching and whatnot. The other thing is probably want to improve this function, because right now it's really slow. So we're using A star, but the heuristic right now is basically this function, which is super simple. It just takes the distance from the exit. Right now, it always works on having a known exit like horizontal, and it takes the current location. And it just, it's like, if you're running at full speed, how long would it take you? And so that's kind of the minimum that A star is going to work with. And this does mean something. It's like starting up is super, super slow, because when you start the game, you have no movement, and it takes a number of frames to actually build up that speed. So right now the game takes all of its time trying to find, like, is there a way to move faster? And we have things like fast acceleration and stuff that we have to take into account. But if we can actually add, like, if you're not, like, take into account your current speed basically, and the time it would take to accelerate to the max speed, I think would really help this. It would be a better heuristic, which will save us a lot of computation. So that's something I want to look into. I'm actually wondering how much helps overall, because I think once you hit an obstacle, it maybe messes things up. But I guess as long as you can go over an obstacle without slowing down, which is true, at least I think for the first level, it's probably helpful. So I did have some things on the README that I wanted to add. Okay, so I think that's issue. Something else I'd like to do is essentially get rid of this get RAM function. So right now the way this works is at the end of every basically thing the high level code does, it just automatically calls this gate state, which at the end of the day just grabs the RAM from the emulator and returns it. However, this is returning, I don't know, what's 800 in hex, quite a few bytes. And most of these bytes aren't read, except for that we hash it, and we're hashing it in the manager. So this has a couple issues. So one, if we're ever going to like distribute this across computers, like the high level, like what's calling this actual function, is probably still going to run on the host. So this means that we're doing a lot of hashing on the host, which is probably pretty fast compared to actually running the game, but it is going to limit our scalability. So it'd be nice to actually do that hashing in the slave process, which would allow us to just save a lot of time overall. It actually also removes a round trip, I think. Maybe not. Maybe it doesn't. But yeah, so that's something that'd be good to do. It also means that we have to serialize and deserialize now. Serializing like bytes is not too hard, because you just kind of write it to the buffer and then write it down the pipe. But again, that's like a couple steps we don't really need. It's also right now a custom bit of the protocol, because Rust can't really handle fixed size arrays with traits and stuff. So I can't just serialize it as a fixed size array. So in order to do that, I'm actually have a little bit of manual code here to write it out. So you can see I'm actually like manually writing the length into the buffer and sending it, rather than just using my regular write routine, which is something I'd prefer not to maintain. But I think the interesting thing here is that on the manager side process in a thread. So again, like on a single machine, it's not really reducing our parallelism. We just get this RAM and we can ask it a whole bunch of questions. So what I really want to do is just extract the answer to these questions, or the data that needs to answer the questions if it's like complex, right? Like, for example, right now this alive function is really just looking at his state of like his animation. So like, is he in the dying animation? Is he in the whatever, anything else? And so if he's not in the dying animation, we assume he's still alive. So maybe we have multiple accessors that are using this information. So we can like pop out, that byte and do like this check here, but instead of just having the whole RAM to pick from, it's there. These aren't actually being used right now, but I do want to use them at some point to detect like when we've left the level. And it depends exactly how soon it actually updates these numbers, but that could be used as kind of a more generic exit mechanism. As opposed to now, I assume you beat the level and you hit a certain X coordinate, which is clearly not enough. Because if you have an early exit pipe or something like this, it's not going to work. But yeah, and you can see like I have this higher level accessor function. So like obviously if I have the 2 bytes, I don't have to send the result of the accessor function SUA. I can just use that again. Yeah. So yeah, I think it would be best just to what do you call it? Like calculate basically all these things in the lower level and just send it over as basically as a struct. And probably just be lazy, set a lot of the fields to public and don't need accessors. So I think in theory, this could be like slightly less work if, there's like these tons of useful information that you need, and copying like 1 byte by 1 byte might be slower than just serializing the whole thing and sending it over. But I think that's unlikely to be true. And especially if we want to distribute over this network one day, I don't really want to be sending the whole chunk of RAM. Again, it's not that much. It's only like, I think 2 kilobytes or something. But it would be nice if we didn't have to do it. So yeah, I don't think I ended up changing anything actually, because I think I wanted to add exit information to the README, but I think I already had it. Where's my terminal? Yeah, okay. So that's my progress for today. Maybe tomorrow.